You're no longer going to be able to be half in on your calling. It's going to require your full devotion. And this doesn't mean that you need to resist your current reality because you know you're being called into a whole new timeline where you are fully supported doing what you love. And right now you're probably experiencing a lot of fallout, for lack of a better word, tower moments, things dissolving in your current 3D reality, things that may have really been a good fit for you 6 months ago, a year ago, 3 years ago, 10 years ago. But right now you're experiencing things dissolving because you are no longer a frequency match for that timeline. And so while you're being asked to let go and allow the old to fall away, you're going to be asked to go all in. You are being asked to go all in. That's why you've landed here. This isn't an accident. You're being asked to go all in. So you're not going to be able to play halvesies with the universe anymore. You're not going to be able to dip your toe into what it might be like to live the way you want to live, to be the way you want to be, to do what you want to do. You're being asked to follow your heart and your inner guidance into the unknown with courage, faith, and devotion. Those three words are very important for you right now. Courage, faith, and devotion. Faith in the unseen, courage in what's being asked of you before there's proof. Devotion, because you cannot do it any other way. You're not going to be able to half-ass your calling. Your calling requires devotion. That's why you're here. This is the reason you incarnated in this lifetime right now during humanity's collective awakening and mass awakening. You came here as a way shower to lead. That's it. You know this. I know this. That's why you're resonating with this. And the sooner you get on board with this, the sooner you can start to align with your highest timeline. The more you resist it, the more you hide, the more you play small, the more you only, go halfway with what you know to be true, and you still are relying on old structures to support you, they will continue to fall away. They will not be fruitful in the way that you hope. So in reality, what you're doing is you're clinging to a collapsing paradigm, a collapsing structure, because you're afraid of going all in on your soul's calling and the truth of what you know. That's ultimately at least what you think your fear is. You fear not having a plan B. You fear not having certainty that it's going to work out. You fear stepping into the unknown and leaving old structures behind that used to support you. But the truth is, there's no safety or security in the structures that are crumbling. That's an illusion. It's all fear-based illusion. The old structures are not meant to support you. So this could be a living situation. This could be a job. This could be a way of perceiving your reality. There's a lot that's falling away right now, and it's meant to leave. It's meant to fall away. It's meant to die. The old paradigm, the old way of being, of relating, of creating, of existing, of earning, like all the things are being completely rewritten. You're in a whole new game. And so the easiest way for me to explain this is the part of you that's still clinging to the old structure is the fear-based mind. The soul already knows what you're here for, and that's what's calling you forward. It's calling you forward. It's not forcing you forward, it's calling you forward. You are elevating in frequency, and you're no longer a match for the old paradigm, for the old belief systems and the old structures that used to support you. And so those are naturally falling away as you are called forward. But the part of you that's clinging to the old timeline out of fear, because of the unknown, because of the lack of certainty, because of the lack of clarity, clarity will be revealed to you as you take sacred action towards what you're being called to create. You will receive the guidance and the wisdom and the downloads and the hits as you take the sacred actions in with courage, faith, and devotion. Courage, faith, and devotion. That is what's being asked of you. Courage, because you will come up against your fears. They will be dangled in front of you to see if you bite. It's like a little carrot to see if you bite, to keep you trapped on the old timeline. But the old timeline that has this illusion of safety, security, or success for you is an illusion. And it's basically like clinging or trying to get into a boat that's sinking. It's not going to save you. There's nothing that's going to rescue you. There's no saving you. You came here to ascend and lead new earth, rooted in unity, consciousness, 5D consciousness, oneness, whatever you want to refer to it as. And so the easiest way I can kind of explain this is point to this is the fear-based mind that is biting on all the carrots that are triggering your core insecurities and fears. It's like this really contracted version of you that you are not. You're being contracted by conditioning into this seemingly separate sense of self that needs to latch on to whatever for safety, security, or validation or approval. So you are the grounded presence. You are kind of like the backdrop for lack of a better word. You are the backdrop. You are the grounded neutral presence. And the grounded neutral presence, your conscious presence, your divine essence is neutral, is open, is spacious. There's the sense of contractedness every time you go in. It's like siphoning off your limitlessness into this dense, separate little self that feels very limited and constricted. And this separate sense of self is what is latching on to the old timeline. Part of being able to quantum leap into the timeline that is aligned with your highest frequency, with your highest timeline, with your new earth timeline, the life that you truly came here to live as a Wayshore, as a living, walking, talking example of divinity in form, creating from your embodied divinity, means you are the grounded, neutral presence. This is your true identity. You're the consciousness. You're the grounded, neutral presence. And every time you get sucked and squeezed into this restricted role, there needs to be an awareness that that is occurring and that you are choosing to get hooked into this really, rigid, constricted role. I almost want to feel like it's pulling forward, right? It's like pulling forward. It's this like seeking energy. Like, where is it? Where's the win? Where's the money? Where's the clients? Where's the lover? Where's the thing? It's the seeking energy that sucks you into this small little separate sense of self and keeps you bouncing back and forth between the dualistic mind of running towards pleasure and running away from pain. We're not trying to escape duality because duality is part of this creation, right? Like even feminine and masculine, light feminine, dark feminine, like the moon and the sun, like night and day, like there's duality. But you are the oneness, for lack of a better word, that is not part of this dualistic swing that the mind hooks you back into every time you bite one of those carrots, that those carrots are soaked in fear, your most deepest insecurities. So they get your attention. You have to stop biting that fucking carrot. You can't keep biting that carrot that's dipped in fear and all of your insecurities and all of the old conditioning and belief systems. You can't keep eating that carrot. It's going to keep sucking you in to this restricted little separate sense of self that now has all of these problems that you feel you need to fix and or avoid or solve or seek the solution for. But you are then still the separate sense of self that's trying to seek. It's like you're a mouse stuck in a hamster wheel or like a maze and you can't get out because you're still stuck in the illusion trying to figure it out. Like the illusion is that there's a sense of self that's separate. That's the illusion. When you are the grounded, neutral presence, you are aware of the separate, like you are aware, you can feel when you're being hooked into the separate sense of self, the identity entity, right? Like this person that you think you are, which is really just a ball of conditioning. It's just patterns, conditioning, memories, projections, thoughts, emotions, but those are not what you are. Those are passing like clouds within the spacious presence that you are. And you can begin to discern. This is the most potent point of discernment you can ever make, ever. The potent point of discernment is when you are taking the carrot or not. That sliver of awareness before you go down the rabbit hole of conditioning. That conscious awareness that you have this carrot that's being dangled in front of you, that's dipped in all of your fear and insecurities, and you choose not to bite it anymore. That conscious choice point of discernment, divine discernment, where you remain the grounded, neutral presence and you can see the mind doing all the things. Now, you may say, Sarah, it's not just my mind, it's my reality because I need to pay bills and there's this that needs to happen and there's that that's happening and this job is over here doing this and all of these things are happening. So it's my reality. Well, you're the creator of you are the conscious, life is creating through you and the world is a mirror of what you are choosing. So if you're truly honest with yourself, have you been remaining the source, the presence, the divine essence that you are? Or have you been biting all of those carrots and making knee-jerk decisions based on conditioning rooted in fear over and over and over and over again, with maybe a glimpse of clarity here and there, but then going right back into your knee-jerk patterns and conditioning, and then expecting your reality to reflect something different? Your reality is going to reflect back to you. The world is going to reflect back to you what you are conscious of being. Are you being the grounded presence that can see the separate sense of self being jerked around on it like a rag doll chasing things and biting carrots and going down rabbit holes? Are you aware of that? Like if you're listening to this, you already have cultivated enough conscious awareness and presence of being to be able to discern when you're being hooked by Maya, the illusion, the illusion that you are separate from all that is. When you are grounded in your neutral presence, you are the source of creation and you are one with all that is. And when you are one with all that is, you're no longer operating from resistance. You are in the flow moment to moment. And guess what arises when you're in the flow moment to moment? Now, when you're here now, and you're not in the monkey mind biting carrots and chasing things and seeking things, trying to solve problems and trying to figure out what you need to do and blah, blah, blah. Guess what happens when you remain neutral and present as the source of creation that you are? Divine creation begins to pour through you even more clearly because you're no longer siphoning off your life force energy, siphoning off your conscious presence and putting it into these little slivers of a personality self that you think you are in this conditioning. So you're no longer leaking your energy all over the place and your life force, creative life force energy all over the place. So when you're no longer siphoning off your energy, guess what happens? When you have a water hose and there's a kink in it, it doesn't flow very well. But when you finally release the kinks, you have full force power pouring through that hose. Do you not? I'm just trying to use metaphors and ways to describe this. When you unkink the hose, it just flows. It just flows. And life always, if this is one of the ego tricks, yeah, but if I'm not here, this is one of the biggest things that you will ever overcome on this journey. And it's not even overcoming. So I'm just using words. So just bear with me. But the biggest fear is the lack of control. Um, Shit, I just lost it. The biggest egoic dark night of the soul I ever experienced was the release or the fear of not being in control. But here's the thing. When you're not trying to, when the separate self is not like muddying up the frequency, so to speak, life's still flowing. And here's how, when the ego comes in and says, "Oh, sorry. Oh, but I need to be here." Quote unquote, you should be very, very alert when you're using the word I and me and mine, right? Because this is a separate sense of self. And we still can use that language as long as you understand what you're saying when you say it and you're not being hooked back into the separate sense of self. So that being said, when the egoic mind goes, "Oh, I need to be here because I need to control this process," life is going to life through you, regardless of what the ego is trying to control or not. The only difference is when the ego is no longer front and center, drive like continuously hooking you and siphoning off your energy. Now life just gets to flow through you and expand in the most divine ways, and life will always reach for its highest expression. I think Eckhart Tolle called it divine discontent. There was a divine discontent. He ended up sitting on a bench for like 3 years in presence and not doing anything. His life looked like he would, people probably thought he was homeless, he said, and his life looked like nothing he thought the other people would think that it should, right? I think he was in like his 40s. He was living with someone. He didn't have like money. He dropped out of school or whatever, and he was sitting on a bench for 3 years. And then he had this divine discontent where he knew that, I'm using air quotes when I say the word he, in case you're on the podcast, knew It was a knowing that he needed to move to North America. This came after his divine discontent moment. His divine discontent moment was him realizing he could do more, that there was a bigger contribution he could be making with whatever this is, this life experience, whatever this is, because no one really knows. And so he set the intention for that. And then shortly after that, he was guided to move to North America and to, I believe, California. And I'm not going to go into his whole story. It's just really interesting, right? So it's like the ego will love to sell you a story that if it's not there controlling the process, that your whole life is going to fall apart and that shit's going to be in shambles. But what's really tripping you up the most on your path is the fear-based frequency that you are leading from, because it can only create a reality that's rooted in that. If you're creating from fear, the reality that's reflecting back to you is not going to be of your highest timeline, and it can only reflect back to you the frequency of which it was created in. Is that making sense? So the ego will love to come in the back door and sell you all kinds of stories on how you have to maintain control of this process, or if you don't figure it out, shit's going to hit the fan, or if you don't, go make XYZ happen, you're going to fall behind or you're going to lose something or whatever. It's going to play all of those kind of narratives on you. Again, with carrots that are dipped in fear and your deepest insecurities to get you to bite. The way you release yourself from the illusion of Maya, this fear-based matrix, is to rest as the divine presence that you are and come home to the grounded, neutral presence, the divine essence of that which you are, and be aware of awareness itself. Become aware that you're aware in each now moment as much as, quote unquote, you can. Bring yourself back to being aware of being aware in this now moment. And what you will begin to cultivate is a very keen sense of discernment of when you are resting and abiding in your divine presence versus being sucked into the separate sense of self, being pulled into it. It'll feel very restrictive. It'll feel fear-based. It'll feel heavy. It'll feel tight. It won't feel free. It won't feel like flow. It won't feel like fun. It'll feel like efforting. It'll feel like forcing. It'll feel heavy. It'll feel restricted. It'll feel tight. When this starts to click for you, you begin to operate as the source of all of creation, the consciousness that is creating the world that is reflecting back to you. And when you're no longer creating from the fear-based frequency that the mind hooks you in, you get to create from your embodied divinity, where you are fully anchored in the frequency of that which you are. This unconditioned presence, this unconditioned presence. This is your I am presence. This is unconditioned presence. You are before the conditioning. You are before the belief systems. You are before the patterns. You are before the creation of the body or all of the things that are happening within this spacious, boundless, timeless presence that is always here right now and 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 now, because it's always now, looking through your eyes right now. It's not a journey at all. You're already here now, and the fastest, quote unquote fastest. Again, the words don't really make sense because you already are here right now. So, but for the sake of this pointer, your breath and the stillness and the silence right here, right now is your path home. Let's just say, let's say you grew up in a different town. Let's say you had different parents. Let's say you had different family members, different life circumstances growing up, different schooling, different all the things. Would you be different? The conditioned part of you would be different. The conditioned part of you, keyword conditioned part of you, would be different because you would have all this different kind of baggage, different kind of lessons, different kind of circumstances and all the things, different parents, different subconscious programming, and different things. The conditioned part of you would be different. So that conditioned part of you that you think is you is just a byproduct of circumstance. But I ask you, are you a ball of circumstance? Because even though the conditioned you would be different, if you lived a totally different life with totally different scenarios and family members and schooling and all the things, the conditioned part of you would be different. Your personality would be different. Like all the things would be different. Your ailments, where you don't feel good in your body, your emotional triggers, like all those things would be different. Would they not be? They would all be different. And that's the conditioned part of you. But the unconditioned neutral presence that is always here, regardless of what's happening in your life, is still here now. That would not change. You likely have experienced your personality shifting over the course of your life, right? You have shifted, you have changed, you have transformed, right? You've done all these things to improve yourself, right? You've done all the healing things, you've done all the things that you felt you needed on this journey to improve yourself, right? This is the conditioned self, and there's nothing wrong with that, but let's just call things what they are. That's the conditioned sense of self, and there's nothing wrong with that. And in fact, the more you awaken to the grounded presence that has always been here through every phase of your life, regardless of what you've been going through and growing through and evolving through and alchemizing and transforming, this presence that's always been here will naturally start to unwind the patterns for you very easily and effortlessly that are no longer in your highest and greatest good, because life force energy is always seeking its highest expression. And if something is rooted in fear and lack or scarcity or unworthiness and is not in alignment with the truth of your being, which is unconditional love and the frequency of love and freedom and all the things, there's no real word to put on it, but I think you get what I'm saying. Anything that is not in alignment with the truth of the core of your being, that is rooted, better way to say this, that is rooted in fear-based separation consciousness, will naturally be unraveled without anything, without you having to do anything. You will be led, you will be guided, like things will just happen, and you will be guided to unravel all of the conditioning. So really, if there is a shortcut, if there's a shortcut to go where you've always been and never left, it is to be here now, regardless of whatever the conditioned personhood is doing. That is going to be the quickest way to unravel all of that and alchemize that, because you are no longer going to be duped by it and sucked into it and tossed around like a rag doll in the chaos. It's a lot easier to unhook yourself from the emotional hooks and the mental hooks when you are here as the grounded presence. It's very clear. Everything is very clear. Is something serving your highest expansion or is it not? It's very clear. There's a resonance or there's not a resonance, and things will just naturally unwind on their own, like patterns of behavior, addictions, uh, coping mechanisms that were all rooted in fear. A lot of those will unwind very, very easily. And there may be some that even stick for a while until it's just seen that it's no longer serving a highest level and there's no need for it and it just falls away. So the idea that you're on a never-ending healing journey is a lie. So I'm just going to throw that out there too for all of you that think that this is a never-ending healing journey. If that's the narrative that you're being hooked by, that you're the separate sense of self and you need to constantly be healing yourself, then that will be true for you. But when you are here as the grounded presence of that which you are, embodied in your divinity, and you can clearly see, right? You can clearly see because you have the eyes to see beyond the illusion of what's playing out and that you don't have to buy into it anymore. You just alchemize anything that shows up. It's not even a healing. It's not like things don't happen where you won't have emotion. Like you're still human and you're not here to bypass your humanity. You're going to have emotions. Life is going to life. People are going to pass away. You know, bills still have to be paid. Like chop wood, carry water, right? Like things are still going to be happening. But when something comes up that, let's call it a trigger, you don't, it's not like you have to heal it. You just see it for what it is. And it naturally unwinds itself when you shine the light of your consciousness on it and you see it for what it is. It doesn't have to take your life force energy, your conscious awareness anymore. And you don't have to give it your presence and you don't have to expand it and make it a thing unless you want to make it a thing. And if you want to make it a thing because your identity is wrapped around constantly healing, or always being the victim, then you will play that narrative out until it's no longer fun for you to play out. And on a soul level, you're called to explore something different. There is a point where that is a limiting story. I'm not saying that there isn't a time and place on this journey to unwind trauma or unwind things in your body and in your psyche and things like that, and to clear and purify and heal within this journey. Like that's not what I'm saying. What I am saying is that life is not meant to be a healing journey. That's kind of a ridiculous statement. You're not here to to constantly be healing. You're here to live fully embodied in your divinity. Your divinity is not broken. Your divinity is whole and complete. And you move into a phase, not it's not a phase. God, the words are just really, you can't really even talk about this, but it just is where when things bubble up, when life lifes, let's say when life lifes, it no longer means something about you. This is good. This is good. I'm hitting on, there's something here. The same kind, and this will happen as you move more into unity consciousness, the same things that used to trigger you, that really used to mean something about your worth or your value, those things will, those little triggers will pop up just kind of like an old echo of the old timeline. And they won't, like, they'll catch your awareness just long enough to be like, oh yeah, that's not a thing. That's not a thing. That's an old timeline. That's an old paradigm. And it just, you release it and you let it go. It's not a thing. You're not innately wounded. You're not innately broken. And while there are things on this journey you will be called to heal, because I'm not here to say that you don't heal on this journey, you do. You've gone through certain things on this journey that have affected you on a psyche level, on an energetic level, on an emotional level, on a mental level. But what I am saying are all of those things are part of your conditioned sense of self, the conditioned separate sense of self, the identity that you can believe yourself to be entirely. And you just think that you're the separate sense of self and that's your reality, and that you are just a byproduct of all of this conditioning and all the things. What I'm suggesting here, if you're open to receive it, is that even if all of that is true and all of that is playing out, and you're having all of the experiences or whatever, all of that's playing out, that is not your true identity. You are still the grounded, neutral presence. You always have been. Temporarily playing the role as a separate sense of self that is basically a conglomeration of thought patterns and emotions and projections and memories and what appears to be a physical body, which isn't even really solid, right? So it's like oneness is lifing through you, wearing the mask of you. Oneness is playing you and everyone else and all sentient beings. Oneness is playing you like an actor plays a character on stage. And each character has their quirks and their personality and all the things. And the different players and actors that come in at different stages of the different scenes and plays out their very specific roles. But at the end of the day, it's all consciousness playing these roles. And so you can play the game of life as if you are the individual actor, and that's your only experience as the actor. And that's going to feel for you right now, if you're listening to this, very restricted, very conditioned, very reactive, very tight, very heavy. Or you can play the game of life as one with the source of all things and no longer get hooked by the same things that used to hook you. Instead, you get to remain a free, sovereign being that is one with the ultimate creator that created all this to begin with. Oneness, I'm calling it oneness, call it God, call it divine presence, call it consciousness, whatever words you want to use, is playing you. And the key thing here is I want to emphasize the ing, the ing, playing you, being you. That is really a verb when you think about it. It is life in motion. It is life in action. That is the expression of you, life in action. This isn't to say that you're not going to use your mind on this journey. You will still use your mind as a tool, but you're no longer going to be sucked into Maya trying to figure everything out as if you are a separate sense of self. Instead, you remain as the divine presence that you are, and the next right aligned action will present itself, often miraculously, that had nothing to do with your actions whatsoever, but you will also be guided to take action, just like Eckhart Tolle had divine discontent and set an intention and was divinely guided to move to North America. So there will be action, but it'll be the most aligned action that lights you up because it's in alignment with your truth and there's no resistance to it. and it'll just be the most aligned thing that lines you with your highest timeline naturally and effortlessly. And so that will look like action sometimes on your part, and it'll look like just receiving the next thing that flows into your experience, because you are now operating from such a highly potent frequency that you magnetize in all the things that are part of your highest timeline. Because again, just to close this loop here for this transmission, the world is always a reflection of what you are conscious of being. So if you want to be magnetic to the highest timeline available in this life incarnation, in this game of life that you're playing, because it's really just a game you get to play, then you must be the frequency of that. And your highest frequency is the one that is not rooted in fear-based conditioning. It is not rooted in separation consciousness. You are always here as the grounded neutral presence, and you've been here through every scene of your life. This is your timeless, eternal presence. The same presence that was here when you were 5 is now here when you're 25 or 35 or 45, and it'll be the same presence when you're 95. This timeless, eternal spaciousness does not age, it doesn't die, it was never born, and it's eternal, it's timeless. It's now. It's now, and that's not even 100% accurate, because you can't chop all the nows up into smaller nows. It's just now. And you are here, present as the truth of who you are. So this is the rampage that wanted to come through. I hope this resonates for whoever needed to hear it. And if you got value from this, please drop a comment and let me know. I love to connect with you in the comments. And until next time, namaste.